All right, so good morning, everybody. So today is the Daf Mem Tes.
Oh, there's Tessie.
Tessie, Maseches Gittin. So we began the fifth parak of Hanizakin. So we ended off with a punchline yesterday as to we had a question of what kind of tikkun olam, according to Rabbi Shmuel, is if we say that by damages that he has to pay with his best property, that's what he holds midorais. So where's tikkun olam? So we said the bottom line, Elmar va'acha bar Yaakov, hacha ba'askina kagon shahaisa idis the nizak zibaras demazik. In other words, over here we're talking about that the damager, the person whose field was damaged, he's a poor guy, and the guy who damaged him is rich. So you could just say, okay, I'll give you my worst field, which would now be your choicest field. But in such a case, right? Rabbi Shmuel Savar, but the nizak shaymina. Right? He says no. By the damage, Rabbi Akiva suffered the mazik shaymina. Right, and over there with the mazik shaymina, then when we go according to the damager, his best, and so Rabbi Shmuel says, but the nizak shaymina, Rabbi Akiva suffered the mazik shaymina. My time to Rabbi Shmuel, Nemra. So what is the reason according to Rabbi Shmuel? It says Nemra sadeh l'matav and Nemra sadeh l'mal. It says in the pasuk twice, right? When a person damages, right? Whoever ish sada, okay, right? He damages someone's field, and then he says he pays the mate of sadehu. Says the word sada again. So mas sada hamar l'malav, the nizak, the field, the one that was damaged. We're talking about whose field? The field of the nizak, the damagee, right? Sada hamar l'mata. So too with the payment, the nizak. So to the so the payment also has to go ahead and be that of the nizak according to his best lands. Akiva Savar, no meitav sadei yishalem. What does it mean when it says meitav sadei yishalem? The heich become a shalom, right? Whereas he who was the one who damaged, he's the one who makes the payment. Rabbi Shmuel Hani Gzer Sheva Hani Kra. And Rabbi Shmuel would say about the pasuk. It says the Gzer Sheva works, and the pasuk also. What do you mean? Gzer Sheva Kadamra. Gzer Sheva, like you said, the word Sada to teach. We're talking about the edis of the damagee, right? And a Hani Kra, and then the pasuk says Danika the Islay Lamazik edis Visiboris, right? And then the pasuk comes to us that if the mazik has edis and ziboris, ziboris the day lo shevak edis the nizak. In other words, basically the best of the person who was injured, his field is like in the middle, so he can go a level up or level down. The v'shalei meitiv, in such a case, he goes ahead and he pays from the meitiv from the better one. So therefore, that according to Rabbi Shah, the pasuk is coming to teach you that in that case where his worst field is not the same as the best field. Therefore, he goes ahead and he pays the best field. Shkech, thank you. And Rabbi Kiva says, and Rabbi Kiva says, right? We saw this earlier that the pasuk is coming to teach you that no, even midoraisa, we pay. Right, the nizikin from the better one. The kavachomer lehektish. It's a kavachomer lehektish. So my kavachomer lehektish. What's the kavachomer for hektish? If you say that the kavachomer is working, that if one of our shores goes ahead and damages the shore of hektish, so shore the Torah says you have to go ahead when your ox gores your fellow man's ox. Below shore shel hektish. And you never pay for a shore that owned by hektish, so it can't be referring to that. Rather, it says, what does it mean for hektish? Is the same as the kavachar hektish that you pay from edis? Maybe it means like this: the person says, "I'm going to go ahead and donate to bedek habayis," and he doesn't pay. He takes he slants. But if that's the case, the Rabbi Kiva is saying that there's a kavachomer to hektish that you collect from edis. Is talking about an unpaid pledge. So the gizbar now is really only a balchov, like a person's owed And we saw earlier, ubachayv adina bebeinanis, and a balchov, a creditor, that halacha is beinanis, not idis, not the time plan. So v'chitem k'savar Rabbi Kiva balchov shakel beidis in the zikin. And if you want to say, okay, a balchov also goes ahead and takes idis, you can argue ma'ala balchov sheken yachakaycho. So balchov is better than hektish, right? Why? But the zikin, because we know by ben zikin he takes idis. But because the hektish, they don't collect anything when it comes to a shore. So you can't have a kavachaymer from balchov to hektish, because you might even say that there's more of a reason to pay the balchov than hektish. So Gemara says, really, we're talking about the kavachaymer is when one of a regular person's shore gores that of hektish, and he has to go ahead and pay idus. Rabbi Kiva Saver, Rabbi Shimon ben Assi, he holds like Rabbi Shimon ben Assi. The Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Assi, Aimer sharsha hektish shenagach l'sharsha hedyot pater. If a shore of hektish gores a regular person's shore, he's pater from paying. V'shel hedyot shenagach l'sharsha hektish. But if a regular person, one of his shores gores that of hektish, then bein tam, bein lemuad, right? By bein tam, when you pay chatzi nezek, lemuad when you pay nezek shalem. The shalem nezek shalom, you always pay nezek shalom hektish. So there is a sheet. It's not the only one we saw that says shoreyehu below shorsha hektish. It could even be according to Shimon ben Asya. See, hachi, if that's the machlokas over here, so we might the beidus the nizak with the bars the masik pligi. Who says then this whole machlokas in the brisa that we first brought yesterday in the Gemara was the machlokas of when the best land of the idus was the same as the lower land of the damager, and that was the machlokes between in that brisa midiraisa between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva. Maybe everyone agrees that we go according to the level of the nizak, and therefore, really, you only have to pay the lower land, right? The machlokes is only by the case of hektish. So the Rabbi Kiva said Shimon Asya, Rabbi Kiva holding a Shimon Asya that you go ahead and you pay the better, and Rabbi Shmuel said like Rabbanan that you don't pay. So Gemara says in Cain, my lobal kasav. This brisa doesn't make any sense, right? We're talking about hektish. Wasn't me lobal kasav el legavos lezikim in the edis? Why is Rabbi Kiva responding that way? Oh, my kavacham the hektish. Also, how do you read the next line? What's this kavacham the hektish? And furthermore, that if you're saying they don't argue in this case, that's not true. We have a Perish Brisa. Rav Ashi says, Tanya Behedya. We have a Brisa that explicitly states top of Mem Testament days. Native Soda, native Karma you shall. The pasuk says, for the better fields and the better vineyards you shall pay. Native Soda shall nizak, native Karma shall nizak. Rabbi Shmuel says, Rabbi Shmuel, we go according to the levels of the person who was damaged, and therefore you'd only pay midoraisa. In this case, you since the mazik is very rich, he can only he can give away his ziboris. And Rabbi Kiva no meitiv shalmazik or meitiv kama shalmazik. It means that the damager, if he's very rich and he damages for a poor person, he doesn't pay, so we collect the Edis fields. So therefore, we see clearly that is the machlokas over there. So they do argue midoraisa whether the nizak shaiminan or the mazik shaiminan, right? In a case of where the mazik is very rich, and then furthermore, they also argue in a case of hektish as to whether one goes ahead and pays for Rabbi Kiva like Shimon ben Asya, that you do go ahead and you pay hektish if you damage their shore. Period. Now, going back to our Mishnah says, right? What do you mean tikkun olam that the nizak pays from the edis? What's the tikkun olam there? L'charis deraisa, right? That meitiv sadeh. So Ravina Omar li'elam asnis Rabbi Kiva. Really, the Mishnah is Rabbi Kiva. Hudamar midaraisa demazik shaymina. And when a person damages and he doesn't pay, and we go ahead and collect, you pay from the choicest lands. And if that's the case, that's the Midoraisa. So what is the Tikkun Olam that the Mishnah is talking about? Rabbi Shimon, and therefore it goes according to the sheet of Rabbi Shimon, the Darish Tamid the Krop. Really, the whole Tikkun Olam is not necessarily, it was stated by the Rabbanan. It's really a Daraisa. What Rabbi Shimon does is oftentimes the Pasuk gives reason, right? In other words, Matam kamar. All right. In other words, that's what the pasuk is the reason. Matam the hanizak shamina labeidis. What's the reason why the Torah requires the rich person, not to get away with giving his poor land, but he has to go ahead and give his better lands? Because of tikkun olam. Because of tikkun olam, that's the reason why the Torah states that the damager pays, because the damager, we don't want the damagers to go ahead and damage fields and get away with giving up his cheap fields. The Tai's learn what is the reason why we say that the damages, we go according to the edis? Because of thieves and extortioners. Extortionists. Right? Why? What's the point to be going ahead and steal or extorting somebody? Tomorrow, Basin will come and get will take my best field. So in order to deter Gazlanim and Chamsanim and people to cause damage, therefore they're not going to go ahead and cause damage to others. The same right, and therefore they're going to use the pasuk to take away our best fields, because they use the pasuk of meitiv siddur meitiv karmo yishalem. Therefore, amru hanizakin shamin lehem beidis, and therefore we say that those who damage they pay beidis. Fine. So what's the reason? That was the edis. Edis is because we don't want people going out and causing damage. The pasuk, as stated, the pasuk, you have to pay from their best. Therefore, we will deter people from causing damage to others. And what's the reason? What's the reason why we state that a balchov, that he only pays with the middle? Because if you have to go ahead and repay with his choicest lands, people would go ahead and see, hey, this person's got a nice field. He's not so liquid, right? The Diranor is a nice house. The Yomer, he'll say, I'm going to go ahead and lend the money. I know he's going to blow through the cash, and when I collect it, I'm going to go ahead and take his house, or I'm going to seize his nice field. Therefore, we say, therefore we say he's not allowed to go ahead and take the choicest fields. Yeah. So we don't allow to take the choicest fields, so people won't lend in order to seize it. We said take Venus. So if that's the case, let him take the worst land. Then you'll basically close the door on lenders, right? If you think the lenders market's hard, wait till it's they can only seize your worst assets, then no one's going to lend money. And the third case was ksubas isha beziboris, a woman's ksuba, right? It has collected, that is collected with the worst lands. Rabbi Meir says Venus. Rabbi Meir says you take the middle ground, the middle ones. So Amru Amru ksubas isha beziboris. What's the reason why Rabbi Yehuda says ksubas isha beziboris? Sheyayisiv yimasha ish reitza lisa ha'isha reitza linase. More than a man wants to get married, a woman wants to get married. Therefore, we'll tell the woman, hey, you can get married, but in case you have to go ahead and collect your ksuba, you're only going to get the worst lands. And she'll say, I want to get married anyways. A guy, if he had to pay better lands, he's like, I don't know about this. Davar acher, and then throws in davar acher. Isha yetzel eretzaina, v'shelo eretzaina. A woman can get divorced, right, with her will, either with her will or against her will. Va'ish eina maitzia el eretzaina. And the man only basically gets divorced if he wants to. He can't be forced to get divorced, as opposed to a woman. We could force her to go ahead and accept the get.
Why is that good reason?
Which reason?
This last reason.
The Gemara is explained right now. So my davar acher, Eddie's question. What's this reasoning? So maybe when he wants to go ahead and just throw her out of the house, so the Rabban say she's not so easy to go ahead and get divorced. You're gonna have to go ahead and pay her off. So, I'm sorry. With right, so or in general. So he's moving this far. As those kinafka ihi nami, when she basically is acting, basically forcing his hand to divorce her. Nami rabbanan ksuba mina. Let's go ahead and give her ksuba. In other words, if she's the one who wants divorce, let's have her pay to get out. So Tashma, come on, listen. Isha yetza l'ritzayna. No, we don't institute a ksuba from her to him. Why? Because a man can go ahead and divorce the other party, i.e., the woman, against her will. So there, whether she wants or not. So therefore, he'll have to pay. But him, so but in the other case, right, when she's acting bad and we're saying that he's going to go ahead and have to pay, well, he'll never pay, right? He'll just make her wait it out, right? He'll make her wait it out or change her behavior in order that he doesn't have to go ahead and divorce her. In other words, so she could be forced to divorce. She can be divorced against her will. If that's the case, we should make him pay, but he cannot be divorced against his will, right? And therefore, he's never going to go ahead and be forced to pay anything, right? So therefore, he'll just wait out until she changes. So therefore, that was the davar acher. The davar acher just meant that we don't institute any payment the other way, only from him to her, because it can be against her will, but it can never be against his will. We'll never get divorced against his will because he can just go ahead and not give the get, right? I guess this line does not, work so good for all the gunas that are going on right now. Fine.
But that's the point. The point is you don't want to make it too high.
Right.
If you make it too high, they'll just say, I'm not going to pay.
Right. So, but anything else, that's what we said. We're having anything, right?
Right, but that's why they want to go Zibor, either Zibor or Benoni. You're not going to the best.
Right.
Because they'll never give it.
Right.
Right, but also, the one hand is, you can't force him to get, but he, if you say he pulls out, he doesn't have to hold on, he couldn't really get it.
He could, right? But if it's something that, in other words, that we'll institute a payment, right, for him to her, for her to him, right? If she wants to leave, she gives it. Well, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need that because he doesn't have to divorce her. He'll just wait.
I don't think we're afraid he's not purely sued. I think we're afraid he's not just not going to divorce her.
Well, in this case, we're saying that he can't be. How would a man? The Gemara is holding. How would a man be divorced against his will? If she just acts wrong, right? Then basically he's forced to go ahead and against his will to divorce her. But he could just go ahead and not give it to her and make her wait it out. That's what the Gemara is saying.
If she does.
Well, certain things, right? Yeah, right. Certain things. So if she makes a nether, she does that, right? Yeah, certain things that she could lose it, but not in this case, right? Now, then we said ksubas isha the ziboris. So we had ksubas isha was ziboris, and Amar Zutra Breder Nachman lo Aman Elam Yasme. We're only talking about when the husband dies, and then the ksubas is collected. So the collected from the Yarshin, that is only collected from the ziboris. Aval minei didei, but from him, right? The Venus. Then it's the middle one. So miyasme, I understand if you're saying that the whole Mishnah is talking about that when we say ziboris, it's from the Yisayimim, right? Then the ksus isha is collected from the ziboris. It means refer to the ziboris from the husband. But no, when the Mishnah says we collect from the ziboris, it's only referring to the Yisayimim. But if it's from the husband, then he gives her beinamis. So Gemara says, "Miyasme Mary Ksus Isha." If the Mishnah is talking about the case of ziboris and referring to the Yisayimim, why say Ksus Isha? I feel called Mili Nami. Any matter that's collected from orphans from Yisayimim, we collect the ziboris. The Hatanan, any from ziboris. That's a flat rule. So if the Mishnah really is not coming to tell us that Ksus Isha is referring to the Yisayimim, and that's why it's ziboris. But for the husband of a divorce, it would be beinanis. It can't be because it's like every case. Elalav mine really means from him. That what it's saying is that the husband's payment is beinanis. Actually, the husband's payment is also ziboris, just like the Yisayimim. So Gemara says no. The other Yasme really talking about Yisayimim. Maybe it's the more chiddush by Ksus Isha. So good eyes. Right? Maybe because that we wanted to go ahead and allow her. Right, to go ahead and be more favor right, in the eyes of the, Mishum China, in other words, in order to her to get Mishum China, right? I think it was for her to get the first time. Let me just see. Rashi was no, sorry. In other words, you might think that Isha, right, that they would find, favor that the woman would basically, they would want to go ahead and marry the men, right? By the fact that they were, guaranteed even from the, that they would only go ahead and they would collect more, right? They would collect more, find favor in their eyes. So the Rabbanan Gaba never let, and then the Rabbanan were more makel by her, and therefore allow them to go ahead and collect more, right, from Beinamis. So Kamash Balan, that even Yisayim, that even in the case of Ksuba, that we're not finding favor for the woman, and therefore it's also the Yisayim also pay Ziboris. And Amarava Tashma, come listen, Rabbi Meir Ksuvas Isha Bebenas. Rabbi Meir says Ksuvas Isha is Bebenas. Semi man. So from who? If it's from the Yisayim, unless they Rabbi Meir. That's not. Rabbi Meir doesn't hold out. She learned in Mishnah any friend of say some element is Ziboris. That any payment from the Yisayim is Ziboris. Allah minet. Rather must be referring to the husband. Only the husband also pays Ziboris. So Michlal, the Rabbanan Savi Zibor. So Michlal, so that's Rabbi Meir. So Michlal, the Rabbanan Savi Ziboris, right? Lo. And therefore the Rabbanan would say that that's not Ziboris. So Gemara says, lo, really it's from the Yisayim, right? The Shanik Sivasisha. And over here we say though that maybe, yes, normally, generally, you always go ahead and collect from the Ziboris. But over here, maybe we would say it's right, it's a little different. So the Kamash Malan, that no, you also go ahead and collect from it's also the Ziboris when you collect from the Yisayim.
I didn't follow that reason.
So it was the same reason we said before. In other words, you might have thought that really it's time on the Yisayim. The Yisayim is the one with the lower level. And the husband, he pays payments. So why'd you got to tell me from the Yisayim you collect Ziboris? You always collect Ziboris, right? So maybe we had to have meaning to think that for the women, we find Chain, therefore we allow them to go ahead and even collect Bainis from the Yisayim, Kamash Malan, that they're only going to head and collecting Ziboris from the Yisayim, just like any other collection from Yisayim.
But if the Mishnah says that Ksuvas Isha is from Ziboris,
right? So we're
why
saying,
would we have a Havamina that she could collect from Beta?
because maybe the Ziboris only come of the Yisayim. When she collects it after the husband dies. The husband dies, that's when she collects the Yisayim. From the orphans, she takes the Ziboris. But from a husband, from a divorce, then it would be Beinamis. That according to this balance, we keep deflecting. The Gemara keeps deflecting. So I'm going to buy a Toshma. Come listen. Hanizak and Shamin Lahem Ve'idis. Damages Ve'idis. Valchayv Beinas and Ksuvas Isha Ziboris. Now it says over there Ksuvas Isha from the Ziboris. Now who are we collecting from? Iman. Who are we collecting from? Let me ask me if it's from the talking about from the Yisayim that we go ahead and collect from the Yisayim if the husband dies from the Ziboris. My Ksuvas Isha. Why Ksuvas Isha? I feel like all other cases, right? Rather, we must be talking about for the husband. It says over there for the husband's Ziboris. So Rav Bar Yaakov, Hakam Askiran, Kigoin Shenasa Ored V'Nizke Beno LaBalchayev Beno Luxus Kaloso. Right, we're talking about a case over here where it doesn't mean we're collecting from the edicts from the actual person who caused the damage. Rather, the father was responsible even for the case of the damage. Right, or the case of Balchov, he says, "Okay, I'll pay you if you don't pay it." Or the case of you get married and you don't pay your ksuba, I'll pay your ksuba. And that's what's talking. We're talking about when the father was the orev to the nezikin, the Balchov, and the ksubas isha, and that's what it means in this case. In this case,
the father of the husband,
father, right? The father. No, the father didn't die, right? So there's the father, his son, right? His son's a troublemaker, right? He damaged someone's car, he didn't pay for it. He lent money, he borrowed money, didn't pay back. and he died, and he left his wife with ksuba, and the father said he's going to go ahead and be there.
Right.
So in the case of the damages, we're saying the father is going to go ahead and pay the edus on behalf of his son. In the case of the Baal Chalav, he's going to go ahead and pay the payments, right? In the case of the ksuba, he's going to go ahead and pay for the ziboris for the ksuba isha, right? The high kadina, each one has his own halacha. Now it's even in the last case, right? He only pays for the ziboris. That so the Gemara now explains. Nizak in the Malchov, in the case of Nizikin and also the Mechaim Gabel. So when those are normally collected during the lifetime, right? Right? They collect as if the son was alive. As if the son was alive, he would be paying from edus for damages. If it was a case of Balchai, he'd be paying for the Baininus. So therefore, he collects, right? The person who's collecting collects as if the person who caused the damage or borrowed money from him is alive. However, Ksuba Sisha, the Ksuba the woman, which is collected, right, after, right, the son dies. Normally, standard, who's the one that when you go ahead and you collect the Ksuba from, right? Miyasme, that normally comes from orphans. And orphans, what is their collection status, right? So therefore, he can go ahead and pay with the lowest lands, just like the normal standard payment of the ksuba after the death of the husband is from the assignment, which is ziboris. So over here, the father gets away with basically paying away ziboris. But so let's go over here and that the normally an array for ksuba, right, is not really right. He's not really mishtavid himself. This is mishtavid himself that we don't care who it's normally collected from. It's collected from orphans. Who cares? It's not the situation here. Gemara says no. The kabbalah over here. So then we're talking about a case of where he was the kabbalah. He says even if whatever happens to the marriage, he'll pay. So now it's a higher level of being an Arev. Normally an Arev doesn't go ahead and mishtavid himself for a ksuba, but over here he was the kabbalah. So this works well according to the opinion who holds that a kabbalah, that even though that if the borrower, right, the person, the guarantor, even though the borrower doesn't have anything, mishtavid. In other words, no one's really in the right mind is going to go ahead and co-sign for something that they know is someone's going to default, right? So it works okay in a case where the guy actually had, right, and therefore he's mechayiv himself, right? But what about the one that says if he has, then he's mishtavid? He doesn't have, then he's not mishtavid. So in this case, he didn't have. So how was the person mechayiv himself? The art to mechayiv himself in order to go ahead and even collect at all. So Ma'ikal name, what do you say? So when it says now, maybe he had and it got damaged, right? By the time he died, or since it was a son, so then people are always, they would go ahead and be mekabel the, even though it's likelihood that they're going to collect from them and not the other side, since it was a son, therefore he would be mishav nafshe, and therefore he could go ahead and collect from the father. And if he collects from the father, he only collects on the level of ziboris, because that's the normal collection by ksuba ziboris, because it is from Yisan. All right, we'll stop here. We will continue.